Suella Braverman never seems to be out of trouble. The Williams report, the Williams review into the Windrush scandal, which of course led to Amber Rudd resigning, and it was mistakes which were carried out by her predecessor, Theresa May, who was then Prime Minister, that led to the problem in the first place. And Priti Patel, the person who had been identified as a bully, accepted the 30 recommendations, and then Suella Braverman decided not to accept 3 of them. And this has now been judged, after a legal challenge by Trevor Donald, a victim of the Windrush scandal, is now being judged to be illegal. It doesn't surprise me at all. Suella Braverman put forward laws which I think will be judged in the end also to be illegal. I don't understand how somebody who is ultimately in charge of law and order in the country can be involved in so many illegal actions and can have such contempt for the subject, the business, the vocation that she entered as a lawyer in the first place. It fills me with horror that we've had a person of such slippery failure, such a failure of a politician in such a senior role. She's not the first. I think Theresa May was the first. And this is a very important ministry, and it's been handled with contempt by a series of individuals who think that rhetoric and bullying, we can use the word, that rhetoric and bullying will suffice. It doesn't. What is needed is hard work, mastering the brief. Suella Braverman, in the committee hearings that she attended, demonstrated again and again that she didn't know how to deal with a brief. She was flicking through the books, through the files, not knowing what she was talking about. Pathetic. And Priti Patel wasn't much better. James Cleverly has continued the tradition of bluster, and Robert Jenrick is the person who did this sort of knee-jerk decision to pull down cartoons and then says he regretted it. Well, you have the luxury to regret things, but people who are vulnerable and people who depend on the Home Office doing its job properly don't have that luxury to regret. The regret for those people is homelessness and misery and often prison. And ultimately, almost all the problems that we're facing today come down to a failure in the Home Office. Maybe it's too big for one person to manage. And that's something that maybe the Labour Party needs to investigate. But we've had a string of failed Home Office ministers. And I mentioned the word failed minister once before, and somebody attacked me for it and said, you're not in Parliament. How can you talk about a failed minister? They've achieved more than you. No, they have wrecked people's lives. That is the basis on which you judge somebody's success or failure as a minister. If the damage that is done is greater than the success. And when there are so many migrants caught up in hotels, locked up in hotels in some cases, because the Home Office has been badly managed, not only by the direction from the top, but by the bureaucracy that is supposed to function and is supposed to clear the backlog and hasn't. So I know people are miserable working in the Home Office. They should follow the Civil Service Code and apply for a transfer to another ministry, so that people who are focused and who want to get the job done can get the job done. But I'm afraid the people that I have spoken to who For the most part, they're people who have left the Home Office, have told me that there was a go slow and that they interpreted the hostile environment as an excuse not to process people. That is unforgivable, and that is a bureaucratic error of great magnitude, and it is tolerated and encouraged by the people at the top.